Hi guys, today I have live swatches of the new OPI New Orleans collection for spring and summer of this year. The collection consists of 12 polishes, 8 of them are creams, there are 3 shimmery polishes and 1 frosty finish. This is a really fun and vibrant and colourful collection, but of course OPI has released a couple similar colours, so I will also be going through a lot of dupes and comparisons of shades that I have in my collection. First up is She's a Bad Muffuletta, and if you know me, you know I am obsessed with red polishes. This is definitely no exception. I am in love with this colour. It's a very bright red and it's pink toned as well, so not a classic red or corally, it is definitely more on the pink side. This has a great formula. It's almost fully opaque on one coat, but I did have some slight streakiness, so I would recommend adding a second coat. It dries to a glossy finish. And here I'm comparing it to Live Love Carnival. She's a Bad Muffuletta is on the right side and it's on my index finger and my ring finger. And Live Love Carnival is on my middle finger and pinky. Live Love Carnival is a little bit lighter and much more orangey toned and a little bit more muted. Next up is Crawfishing for Compliments, and this is a really beautiful pale orange. Pale orange isn't a colour I would normally wear. It's not something that looks really good on me, but this was pretty. This has a great formula. It's easy to work with. Sometimes OPI formulas can be a little bit on the thin side, but I didn't have any trouble with this one. It was pretty streaky on the first coat, so I would recommend doing 2 to 3 coats. I did 3 coats for the swatch. It dries to a glossy finish, so there's no need to apply a top coat. Again, I had some slight streakiness on the second coat, so I am applying a third coat, but if you're careful, you can definitely get away with just doing 2 coats. And here I'm comparing it to Where Did Suzy's Man Go, which is on the right and on my middle finger, and A Great Opportunity, which is on the left and on my pinky. A Great Opportunity is definitely closest, but it's a little bit more muted and a little bit more grey toned, whereas Where Did Suzy's Man Go is still a pale orange, but it is much brighter and a little bit more warm. Next up is Got Myself Into a Jambalaya, and this is a salmon pink. It's right that in-between shade between orange and pink, and I love these kind of shades. This has a really good formula. It's pretty similar to the previous orange, where it is pretty streaky on the first coat, but it is easy to work with, it's easy to apply, it's not going to run down the edges of your nails. It dries to a glossy finish. There's no need to apply a top coat. I still have a slight amount of streaks on the second coat, so I am applying a third coat. It is fully opaque on 3 coats. Here I'm comparing it to Sorry I'm Fizzy Today, which is on the left. Honestly, I can't really see a difference between them in person. I think Sorry I'm Fizzy Today is a drop darker, but they're pretty much identical. Next up is Suzy Nails New Orleans, and this is a lighter, cooler toned pink. This again has the same formula as the previous polishes. It is a little bit streaky on the first coat, but it is very easy to apply. It's not an overly thin formula, which I tend to get with OPI. It's easy to apply, easy to work with. It doesn't run to the edges of your nails. It dries to a glossy finish. It's all the same. It is still slightly streaky on the second coat, so I will be applying a third coat. And here I'm comparing it to Pink Friday. They looked pretty similar in the bottle, but as you can see on the nails, Pink Friday, which is on my middle finger, and Pinky is much lighter. Next up is Spare Me a French Quarter, which is a purpley berry toned pink. This is a pretty unique shade. I thought I had a lot of OPIs that were similar to it, but actually it turned out that I didn't. This has the best formula so far. It is a little bit more of a crelly type polish, so it is completely even coverage. There aren't any streaks, but there is a slight visible nail line on the first coat, so I am applying a second coat. It is fully opaque in 2 coats and it dries to a super glossy finish. And here I compared it to Koala Berry, which is on the right and it's on my middle finger, and Kiss Me on my 2 lips, which is on the left and it is on my pinky. Koala Berry is a little bit more warmer toned and more berry toned. You can see that Spare Me a French Quarter is definitely more purple, and Kiss Me on my 2 lips is a little bit cooler toned. Next up is I Manicure For Beads, and this is the perfect shade of purple. It is right in the middle, a medium toned purple, and again I thought I had closer dupes to it, but I didn't. This has an incredible formula. It's very similar to the previous one where it is completely streak free and even on the first coat, but there is a very slight visible nail line, so you will need 2 coats. The second coat also slightly deepens up the color and it dries to a glossy finish. And here I compared it to Pamplona Purple, which is on the right, and it is much darker and slightly warmer toned, and Blanc Salot, which is on the left, and on my pinky this is much lighter and cooler toned. The next color is Rich Girls and Po' Boys, and this is a medium toned sky blue with maybe 1 drop of purple in there. This has another great formula. It is a little bit streaky on the first coat, but it's very easy to apply. Again, a lot of the time OPI formulas are very thin, but I didn't have that issue with any of these polishes. The second coat completely covers up the streaks and it is fully opaque in just 2 coats. It dries to a glossy finish. And here I've compared it to No Room for the Blues, which is on the right and it's on my middle finger. This is a little bit more blue toned. You can see why I mean Rich Girls and Po' Boys has a drop of purple in it. And on the left is My Pal Joey from the Hello Kitty collection, and this is a lot darker. Next up is I'm So Swamped, and this is a bright green, definitely a swampy green. I'm not sure if this is a color I would wear on its own, ever, but it is nice to try it out and I will definitely be using it for nail art. Sorry about the background noise, the neighbors are on the trampoline. This has an easy formula. It's a little bit streaky on the first coat, but it sorts itself out on the second coat. It is completely opaque in 2 coats and it dries to a glossy finish. There is definitely no need for this comparison, but this was the only other OPI green that I have, so I thought why not add it. This is Mermaid's Tears, and as you can see it is much more muted and grey toned. It also shows how bright I'm So Swamped is. And next up are the shimmery polishes, and this is Show Us Your Tips, and this is a blue periwinkle base with a ton of silver shimmer. This is pretty sheer on the first coat, but it does build up nicely in 3 coats. It dries to a little bit of a dull finish, so I would recommend adding a top coat, but it is completely smooth. It is fully opaque in 3 coats. And here I've compared it to You're Such a Budapest. You're Such a Budapest is much lighter, and although that has shimmer as well, it is so incredibly subtle that you can't even see it on your nails. Next up is my least favorite from the collection, and this is Humidity. There's nothing wrong with this polish, it just really clashed with my skin tone. This is a peach toned nude polish with a ton of silver pink shimmer in it. Again, there's nothing wrong with this polish, it's too peach for my skin tone, so it really looked awful on me. It's a little bit sheer on the first coat, but it does build up beautifully in 2 coats. It's easy to apply, easy to work with, and it's not streaky. It dries a little bit dull, so I would recommend adding a top coat. Next up is Let Me Buy You a Drink, and this is pretty similar to the previous polish, but much lighter and brighter of a nude. This has that same shimmer in it as well, that's kind of silvery pink. This is pretty sheer on the first coat. It's not too streaky, but there are definitely some streaks. It's almost fully opaque in 2 coats, but I would recommend adding a 3rd coat just to get it fully opaque. This definitely looked a lot better on my skin tone, but again, this isn't my favorite kind of finish, so it's not something I would really wear. It dries to a little bit of a dull finish, so I would recommend adding a top coat. I didn't have anything identical to this polish, but I have 2 cream polishes which are very similar. The first one is my very first Knockwurst, which is the darker shade on the right, and it's on my middle finger. And the other polish is Don't Bossa Nova Me Around. This has a pretty similar base color, but again, this one is a cream, whereas Let Me Buy You a Drink was a shimmer. And we made it to the end. The last polish is Take a Ride on Bourbon, and this is the frosty finish of the collection. This is kind of a silvery frost with a hint of gold in it. It's a little bit warmer toned than a normal silver frost. This is a little bit sheer on the first coat, and like any frosty finished polish, it does definitely have brush strokes. They are more apparent when the polish is wet, and they do become a lot more subtle when it dries, but you can definitely still see them. That being said, I'm actually surprised with how much I like this polish because it's very bright on the nails. It is fully opaque in 2 coats. So those are the live swatches and comparison of the 12-piece OPI collection. I really like this collection. Especially the creams, the 8 creams I love. The shimmers, not my favorite, but the creams are definitely my favorite. They are really easy to apply, easy to work with, and really nice and bright colors for the season. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.